Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I trust everyone is well. Welcome to this month's Open Classroom webinar. My name is Charles Scott from Civil Designer Software. Thank you for allowing the time to join us today for the second of this two-part mini-series focusing on the 3D drive-through and rendering visualization functionality included in the Civil Designer CAD Pro module. As attendees of today's webinar, you'll be entitled to a 30-day trial version of our CAD Pro module, which will include all the functionality in both webinars in this two-part series. The CAD Pro trial license will run as an add-on to an existing version 8.4 or 8.5 Design Center module. So, after today's webinar, please visit our CAD Pro webpage on www.civildesigner.com. Click on the CAD Pro Extended Trial button and complete the web form, where we will require your license serial number beginning with 100. The trial CAD Pro licenses will be added to your existing license and confirmed by a confirmation email emailed to the supplied address. As I stated last month, the massive benefit of Civil Designer's project rendering is the fact that it is direct or live rendering, which is internally created and then viewed inside our design software application, meaning there is no need to export a large file out of our design software application to be saved, opened, rendered, and then only viewed in the third-party rendering software application, with this process needing to be repeated for absolutely every single design change. Civil Designer's direct or live rendering/visualization thus allows for the real-time comprehension of an entire civil infrastructure project to date in an integrated environment, enabling the easy identification of possible design issues, improvements, and the communication of the design itself at any stage to all project role players, technical and non-technical, all using the design software application and not complicated third-party rendering packages. Demonstrating this functionality today, or at least again today, will be Cameron Boyle from our Johannesburg office. During Cameron's presentation today, please feel free to use the text chat service on your GoToWebinar app to ask us any questions you may have during his time. After today's webinar, we'll post a video copy on our website in the webinar section. So, good afternoon again, Cameron, and please take it away.
Thank you, Charles. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome and thank you for joining us. For this part 2 of our CAD Pro series, I've taken the questions that you sent through from the first CAD Pro webinar and created this CAD drawing that you see in front of us. If you've attended one of our popular surveying terrain training courses, you will find this project familiar. Our objective today is to convert this project into a separate CAD drawing. Just a quick reminder that if you right-click and the render view option is not active and you're interested in taking advantage of our CAD Pro promotion, let us know. We will update your license. You would then need to go to File, Security, Retrieve, Renew, and select the CAD option, and then click on Renew. I'm going to use these CAD drawings listed on the top here to show you the tools available in order to create this CAD drawing from your project. Going back to the Eastmore Hotel project and then going to my display settings. If I go and select the shading settings, and then use the height shading, switch it on and specify which surface I want the height shading for. On the bottom left, if you click on Auto Scale, Civil Designer picks up the elevations of your DTM and assigns the colors. Then I can go to the Surfaces page. I can switch the shading on and off and turn off the line visibility. If we now go to your view axis, update the view, you can see that already there's a resemblance between the actual CAD drawing, which in this case doesn't have a DTM attached. If I go to my project settings, you can see there's no additional settings over there. If we do go to the Eastmore Hotel, you'll see that there is a DTM attached. Now, in order to make this a CAD drawing, I'm going to change back to the top view and I'm going to go and make a separate CAD plot of this project. I do so by going to Plot on top, go and select Generate, go and specify a blank plan sheet file found in this file location, click on Open, specify my sheet size, and I'm then going to create a separate CAD drawing. Export to survey option will keep your coordinates, and then it's important to publish your viewports in 3D. That will give you your Z coordinate as well. Click in on next, specify your scale, your sheet size, and then you need to go and define your plot. Normally what I do here is I press ZA for zoom all and then H for home. Left click, look in on the top, it says do you want to adjust the rotation? I'll say no, right click and quit. Click on finish and go and specify where you'd like to save it. You can of course go and save it as a DWG or DXF file. Looking at the actual drawing that we've just plotted, you go to File, Open, go and specify where the file is found. The DTM lines have been brought through, and if we were to go and select one of these lines, in the properties you'll see it's noted as a 3D face. With this 3D face, if you go to Settings, View Settings, you have the option to draw the full 3D faces and meshes. Pressing Escape to get rid of the selected triangle, and then once again going to change my view axis. So that is how you can take your project and convert it into a CAD drawing. Of course, we've gone and put in a dam design, which makes it a bit different. Closing this drawing, no need to save it, and then also closing the plot with no need to save it. Returning back to the master CAD drawing, I've gone and put in some props or objects or additional drawings. I'm going to show you how this is all done, and there's numerous ways of doing it. Zooming in, I'm then going to change the color of these palm trees using an XREF. Going to Tools, scrolling down to XREF Manager. There we've got the palm tree. Let's go and make changes to it. And then you click on Close and go and open the palm tree drawing. With the palm tree drawing, you'll see that there's many lines. And it's quite difficult to go and select which lines you want to go and make changes to. In that case, Civil Designer's CAD Pro module has made it easy. You simply go to Edit, select by Filter, and Quick. I want specified entities. We're looking at 3D face matching a layer called Trunk. Having done that, if I click on OK, everything on that particular layer is selected. I can then go to Properties and change the color. In this case, I'm changing the pen color to 45. Staying with the selection filters functionality, there's some additional tools I can show you. If I select the spline and I want to select all other splines within the drawing, I could, for instance, go to Select Same. And in that case, all the properties applicable to that entity is active. Checking the properties, you can see we've got 4 splines selected. In addition to Select Same, we've also got another function called Select by Filter. We've already looked at the quick, now looking at the advanced. I want all the circles with the radius bigger than 8. Click on Append, and the filter list is populated. If I select it, I can go and edit, remove, reset, or make changes. Click on OK. With everything selected, I can go to Properties and change properties of the 11 circles. As an example, I can go and change the color and make it all one pen color. Going back to Properties, I can again go and change the line weight. So making all the selected circles stand out. Closing the selection filters diagram, no need to save that. Closing the palm tree, and in this case I'm going to go and save it. If you recall, this is an external reference. So back in our CAD drawing, I go to Tools, select XREF Manager. You can see there's an exclamation mark there. I can either click on Unload on the right, or I can right click on the XREF and select Unload and then Load. You can see how our diagram's been updated. If you're wondering how I imported this entertainment area, I'm going to show you. And then start off by creating a new drawing. You also have the option to load drawings from different formats, saving them with different options. But in this case, I'm going to import a 3D model. You have the option of an OBJ or STL file. Here I'm going to import the object as 3D faces. You'll note that I brought in materials as well. You can go and move this 3D model to any position. Alternatively, you can press Escape and then press Escape again to release the selection set. Viewing this in a 3D format, I'm going to right click and select Render View. Changing the view and then zooming in to the material to show you the extent of the detail. And I'll go into more detail as far as material is concerned a bit later. On our drawing window, you can't see the walls, so I'm going to go and change the background color. I go to Settings, View Settings, Drawing Background Color, and selecting Gray. Changing my view axis, and then I'm going to go and explain the Draw 3D Face options. With the Face option, you specify 4 points that can be used to build up objects, but a face cannot have a thickness. Solid Quad, used to create a full 3D sided object by indicating the 4 vertices of a quad. You can specify thickness. With the polygon mesh, this is used to draw a grid of points that are joined by 3D faces. When you use this, it's important to take note of your drawing plane snap mode. Going back to Draw, 3D Face and Face. Selecting the most appropriate snap mode, in this case the grab all, and then zooming out in the render view so I can see what the dynamic update will look like. Clicking on the applicable points. Once you go and select the first point, you can see you need to draw this in an anti-clockwise direction. Selecting my 4 points. Once done, I can go and right click and quit. Making the render view active and pressing S to see what the end result looks like. With these 3D faces, you can go and put in your own materials. You can also go and create objects of this. And this leads us on to the next drawing. Looking at meshed solids. Let's take a look at this. I'm going to explain how you can go and draw these meshed solids, taking a closer look at the ruled option. This allows you to draw a polygon mesh between 2 existing curve entities in the drawing. That is how you are able to achieve this unusual shape. With the extruded function, it allows you to draw a polygon mesh by extruding an existing curve entity in the indicated direction and length. Looking at the tessellate function, it allows you to draw a polyface mesh that fills a region that has been specified by a hatch. This is useful for generating surface meshes with holes in them. Closing the render view, and then taking a closer look at these meshed solids. If you go to Draw Mesh Solids, you have some standard mesh solids to draw, as well as the surfaces option. I'm going to show you how to draw the swept as well as the revolved options. Looking at the swept option, you can specify a start and an end scale, a twist, as well as the number of segments. I'm going to select this circle, and once I've selected that, I can go and select the other curve entity to be used as the swept path. Before we view it in 3D, I'm going to go and do the revolved option. Going back to Draw, Mesh Solids, Surfaces, Revolved. Specify start and end angle, number of segments, and then the entity to use as the profile, as well as the rotational axes. Clicking on the 2 points, the entity is revolved around your rotational axes. Viewing this all in 3D, I've gone and created a fly-through. You can press space on your keyboard to stop the fly-through. Looking at the swept option and the revolved option. Looking at the standard meshed solids. Some of these meshed solids have textures or material associated to them. Irrespective of the shape of these meshed solids, you can go and specify material. Let's look at that in more detail. Changing my top view, doing the same in the render view. Selecting the top view box, going to properties. By default, you've got material by layer. If you don't have additional material options or texture options there, you can go to settings, style settings, materials. Click on load, and then go into this path. You'll find there's a CAD material file. Click on open to that. I've already got it, so I'm going to select cancel. Click on OK. Now if you go back to properties, you can go and change the material. And there's numerous options to go and select from. Clicking on brick wall number 1. Let's see what that looks like in the rendering. And then press S to refresh. And then taking a look at it. Now on the top you've got the brick wall. But if you look on the edges of your box, these brick walls look like lines. So let's go and update that in our properties. Go to the mapping option and change that to box. Clicking on the render view, pressing S for refresh, and you can see that the material has been updated. Where could you utilize this, you may be asking? Well, let's take a look at our project again. I'm then going to close the meshed solids diagram. No need to save it. Back in our CAD drawing, I'm then going to go and render this. And then zooming into the corner where I've gone and applied 3 different textures. If you find that you can't see your textures too well, you do have the option of turning the light option on so that you can go and view this in more detail. The light can also be turned off by pressing the letter L on your keyboard. Closing the render view, looking at our drawing again. As with the jet ski and the boats, the next objective is to go and put in a car on this road. And there's different ways you can do it. In this example, we're going to go and create a block. And this is the drawing that we're going to use to create the block. When you go and create this object, you need to ensure that the drawing plane is in the top view. It doesn't matter in which view axis you've got. I've got the northwest corner. And then it might be a good idea to go and put in a geometry line indicating your hook point. And that point will be used to bring in your object. I'll go into more detail with geometry later in this drawing. Then I press Ctrl A on my keyboard to select the entire drawing. Go to Tools, Blocks, Create Block. Given our block a name, call it Shelby Cobra. You can go and specify a description, and that would be text associated with your block. You can make it annotative or not. That will automatically scale it according to your drawing. And then I'm going to go and click on Keep Selection. Reading my prompt, it says indicate base point of block. So this would be my hook point. I'm then going to select the geometry intersection snap mode and click on the geometry intersection. Indicate the lower left corner of snip box. I don't need a snip box, so I'm going to go and hit spacebar. Once this is created, I can go to Tools again, Blocks, Block Manager, and if I need to go and edit it, I can go and right click and select Edit Block. Happy with what I've got already, I'm going to go and close this, and I'm going to go and save it. One of the many advantages of using blocks is you have text associated when you bring in these blocks. Before we insert the block, we need to load the block into the Block Manager. We do so by going to Tools, select Blocks, Block Manager. Select Load, go to the drawing where you created the block, and you'll see the block is there. Click on Import Selected and OK. Once that is out the way, you need to take note of your drawing plane. You can go and define your own drawing plane. So in this case, you could go and select a drawing entity. I'm then going to select 3 points indicating the drawing plane. And this would just be CAD jump points. Once that is defined, I go to Insert, select Block, specify the block name, at what angle you'd like to bring it in. Specify your scales. If you want to mirror it vertically, horizontally, you can also go and modify it. So once you've brought it in, you can graphically make changes, and there is an option to align. So if you've got a CAD line, you can align the block accordingly. Happy with the position, left click in and then quit in. Let's go and view this in render, right click and render view. In case you didn't know, in my render settings, I've chosen to have the render view as a separate CAD window. And because of this, I'm able to go and stretch the render view and view this again from any perspective. As well, due to this separate CAD window, I have the option of looking at my layer settings. Once I've brought in this block, you'll see that there's additional layers here associated with the car. At the moment, all my layers indicate I've got 139 layers, and if I go and put in a search of 02 car, Civil Designer indicates that I've got 28 layers associated with that particular name search. If I want to create my own group, I can go and right click here on all, go and select Add Group. Specify a layer group name and click on OK. If I go back to the All category, I can browse down to the layers I want associated to that group. Control and Shift keys work in this case. I would then go and right click and add to layer group. Specify the car group, and there's all the layers associated to that group. Let's take a look at our entire project from different perspectives. And then again, make our render view bigger. And then I'm going to go and do a drive through and a circle around. So I've gone and created 2 layers to assist with this. Switching on the flyby layer as well as the circle around. Now I've gone and specifically put in a circle around 3D face for this. With it turned on, if you go and right click on this, you'll see that I've gone and created a polyline. And there's a trajectory symbol showing you what the fly through would look like. If I go to draw inside the CAD Pro module, you'll see that you have the polyline as well as the spline options active. So giving that a go again, I'm then going to right click, fly along polyline. If you watched the first CAD Pro webinar, you'll know how to control the speed of this. Going towards the hotel, I've gone and created a superficial elevator there. Pressing V on my keyboard, I can unlock the view and view our site from a different perspective. Pressing V again and completing the fly through. I've gone and defined viewports. Let's go and turn off this flyby CAD layer. Pressing Control and left clicking on my mouse, I can go and change the view. And then changing my viewport. I've specifically gone and created a 3D face over here, and I'm going to use that to do the circle around. I've strategically gone and placed this so that we can circle around inside the hotel, looking at what the guest perspective would be. Taking a look inside the hotel, you have the option of turning the lights on or not. You can either press this icon, alternatively on your keyboard you can press the letter L. Changing my zoom view, if you're wondering what they were looking at. Something I learned quite recently is that the old school civil designer shortcut keys letter M and letter D work in the render view. Closing the render for now, and then looking at some additional tools in the CAD module you might find useful. Looking at the hatch drawing, if you go to draw, there's an option of hatch. You can go and specify which hatch boundary draw method to use. Pattern origin, if you want to align your bricks, for instance, and then selecting settings. There's different pattern types to choose from. With the gradient fill, if you use your mouse wheel, you can browse through the pattern name options, looking at the sample. Reverting back to my predefined pattern, you can either go and select a pattern name. Alternatively, you can click on the browse button and browse through the 216 patterns to choose from. If you know the pattern name, you can go and type it in and select it. You can go and specify your color options, gradient angle, pattern scale, and whether you want the new hatches to the back or not. Selecting which hatch boundary method to use, the Detect Islands option will automatically avoid applying the hatch pattern to closed entities unless this tolerance dictates otherwise. Clicking on the diagram, right clicking and selecting Accept, and zooming in to see the final result. Looking at dimensions within the CAD module, it's easy to go and put in dimensions. You can see there's numerous options to choose from. Let's go and put in our linear horizontal running dimension. Select dimensions, linear horizontal. You can go and specify which styles to use. You can go and create your own. Selecting running, auto space will space your dimensions. Text override will be for diagrams that aren't to scale. Clicking on your first point, your second point, moving your dimension above or below the line, and then continuing with the rest of the dimensions. Let's take a look at the angular lines as another example. Selecting two lines, clicking on the first, second, and as you move your cursor, you'll see that your dimension follows suit. Earlier on, when we created our block, I mentioned that I'll go into a little more detail as far as geometry is concerned. If I go and turn on this geometry, you can see that your geometry lines can have customized colors and line types. There are numerous functions to go and choose from. And once you've put in your geometry lines, you can create CAD drawing entities from it. This is done by going to Draw, Geometry Trace Over, Fill Geometry, indicating the geometry, putting in a start point and an end point. Once you've completed your CAD entity, you can go and turn your geometry lines off again and then view the end result. You'll also find that I've got numerous machine parts here. This is all done under our toolkit. There's numerous toolkit options. We're looking at the general. The architectural toolkit makes drawing house plans easier with the default templates that you can go and customize. Looking at the mechanical, so this is how I drew in these additional diagrams. Looking at the survey toolkit, and I'll go into more detail as far as that is concerned, and then looking at the structural and the civil. With the survey toolkit, I'm going to go and open up another drawing and show you how easy it is to put in an SG diagram. Going back to toolkit, survey, SG diagram setup. Specify your default files, what questions, text, lines, and data tables you'd like. Going back to survey, SG diagram, trace figure. You would then, by selecting the appropriate snap mode, click on the corners of your outside figure, and once you go back to the start of your corners, you will be given the option to add a group of rows for connections, indicatory data, servitude data, etc. Looking at the diagram data table, you can go and make changes to your text, specify your scale, and then accompany your SG diagram with additional notes. Specify the position for your figure, and there it is, with the table of coordinates on top. Looking at the snap, clip, tidy functionality. In this diagram, we're going to go and fix up your snap tolerance, the minimum entity length, dangle tolerance, as well as duplicate lines. Got a very nice function for this. If you go to Tools, select Snap Tidy, go and specify which tolerance to use, and then indicate the polygon around the elements that you want to fix. Once done, you can right click and select Finish. Looking at the diagram, it's all been fixed, and if you go to your properties bar, you'll see the results of the fix. To end off with, I want to show you the reality mesh functionality. Not only do we handle large bitmaps with ease, but we also handle this 3D mesh. If I go to the render view, it looks 2D until I go and rotate it somewhat, and you can see it's a 3D reality mesh. If I go and right click, I have the option to circle around. If you've got a design, you could go and drape it on top of this reality mesh. This is a 3MX file. You also have the option to work with reality mesh and go and change the visual style to a wireframe. Hope you enjoyed the CAD Pro webinar series. Until next time, cheers for now. Back to you, Charles.
Thank you very much, Cameron. That was awesome. And more importantly, thank you very much to all of you who attended today's second CAD Pro webinar in our two-part series. Please use the email address listed on your screens right now should you require any further information with regards to today's webinar and in fact last month's webinar as well. Please remember to visit our website's CAD Pro page to request your 30-day trial version by completing the CAD Pro extended trial form. Please then feel free to browse through the rest of our website and follow us on LinkedIn to enjoy our weekly technical tips, customer showcase stories, and industry news posts. Once again, thank you very much for your time today. See you next month on the final Thursday at the same time. Have a great afternoon, weekend, and goodbye for now.